Hi everyone, welcome to Modern Maven Astrology and Tarot. I'm Andrea Elizabeth, and today we are going to discuss the elemental information that comes with understanding the dynamics between the astrological elements in your chart and your child's chart. Before we begin, I highly recommend having your chart and your child's chart. If you don't have your astrology charts, I highly recommend Pam Gregory's free astrology charts. If you just Google Pam Gregory free birth chart, you can access your birth chart, your child's chart, or your parents' chart. I also recommend getting some pens or highlighters because we will be going through the elements and you're going to want to label the elements on your chart and your child's chart to really understand the dynamics of the elements working together. So without further ado, let's dive in. Now, I have tried doing this several times, so let's see if I'm going to be able to share my screen like I want to. All right. When it comes to astrology and parenting, I personally think that having a good grasp on the elements and how they work together, the contrast between elements, is by far the most helpful when it comes to everyday parenting, especially because when we're going to be discussing this, what you really want to do is look at the elements from a literal aspect. How does water react with fire? How does fire react with water? How does water react with air? How does water react with earth? Et cetera, et cetera. And so when we are going through this information, really think about how the elements actually work in nature, because that is going to, I personally think, be the easiest way to really explain all this information. Okay, so let's start with the elements. We have water, earth, air, and fire. Water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Earth, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Air, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And fire, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So if you want to pause the video right now, go through your chart and look at your chart, your child's chart, label water, earth, air, and fire next to each placement, each planetary placement. And that way you can be ready to really look at this information and take it in and illuminate some helpful hints on better parenting and mindful parenting practices. And then also too, like I said, with a pen, you can label W for water, E for earth, A for air, F for fire. If you're a more colorful visual person like I am, highlighters, I recommend, green for earth, blue for water, even yellow for air, and pink for fire, unless you actually have other, colors that you want to use, just colors that are going to be the specific elements. All right, so now let us get to water first. So as I mentioned, water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces energy. So water signs are deeply connected to our emotions and the unconscious. I'm sorry. Deeply connected to our emotions and the unconscious. Seen below the surface and deeply sensitive and intuitive are general traits of water signs. So since water has no boundaries, water can conform to the elements around it. When mixed with fire, it creates steam. With earth, it creates mud. And with air, it creates rain. So going back to what I said with understanding the literal natural connections between the elements, let's say you're a water sign and your child has a lot of fire energy. If that fire builds and gets extreme, it can boil the water, if that makes sense. Or it can, if it goes for too long and the water does not assert itself, but by spritzing the fire a little bit, the water can unfortunately turn to steam and then you lose your power. So that's the way I want to really visually show this information, is when interacting, and especially when seeing the contrast with parenting, the visualization of these elements in nature is going to be the most beneficial. And since water has no shape or permanent ability to remain solid, it functions its best when allowed to remain fluid. So this information I like to point out in regards to heavy earth energy. So if you or your child has heavy earth energy, it could be a contrast or conflict when it comes to how we navigate through life. If you're somebody who is earth and you're more structural, rigid, that can raise some conflict if your child is more of a go with the flow energy. And at the end of the day, this is all about nurturing our child's development. This information is really useful to build the best parts of every aspect of every placement of your child's chart and your chart too. So just remember that it's never too late to reparent ourselves. Parenting is a blessing to us to find these things from our inner child, whether it's wounded child or not, that we can reparent certain aspects of ourselves and nurture ourselves like we nurture our children and their development. So definitely utilize this information for yourself as much as you do for your kids. And again, like I said, if you're watching this from the child's aspect and even if you're an adult, and this information can really benefit our parents as well. Now, water can extinguish fire. It washes away the earth and can saturate the atmosphere so completely that it stops wind in its tracks. So in this sense, water is the most powerful energy that there is in all the elements and in all the zodiac signs. Now, when it comes to nurturing, if you have a child who has strong energy and elements of fire, wind, and earth, we have to be very mindful of how much water energy we absorb, or that our kids absorb. That's what I was trying to say. So like I said, with the fire, you want to spritz the fire. You don't want to dump a bucket of water on the fire. With earth, you don't want to create a mudslide. You just want to saturate the earth. And the same, with kids who have strong air energy. It's not about, with everything in life, the know thyself and nothing in excess. It's easy to say, but it's a constant, continual journey through life to find that balance and be mindful of it. Now, water is self-protective. If provoked, it won't lose a battle with any other element. It prefers to do whatever it takes to guard itself from outside influences. This is very useful, especially if we're looking at our moon, sun, and rising, and Mercury, because that's communication. If you're somebody who is very water heavy in those areas, you're probably not going to lose a battle with your child. However, it's important to be mindful that you don't want your child growing up believing that they're never going to win a fight or they're never going to win a battle. So that's where it's very important to be mindful of this energy if you're heavy in water elements. And also, too, if your child has to learn, too, that not every battle is meant to be won or even fought in. So that's something to keep in mind when we're looking at this water energy, and especially when it comes to conflict. And also, Mars too, because Mars is how you assert yourself. And so also, if you're self-protective, let's say you do have a Mars water sign, you might shy away from battle in general and just want to protect yourself. So that's where I love this information to just take notes and find helpful activities and tools that can help nurture all of the positive aspects of every sign. All right, now we're going to go sign by sign with water. We have Cancer. This energy will express the element of water to pursue emotional security and nurture and protect that which it feels most deeply connected to. So I would connect this to Mama Bear energy. So depending on where you have Cancer in your chart, if you do have Cancer in your chart, you are going to probably feel that nurturing, protective part of yourself onto our children or those we love. Scorpio, this energy will display the element of water in ways that encourage deep saturation of and comfort with emotional power. So here I'd like to give the example if your child has Jupiter in Scorpio. Jupiter is what comes natural to us, and it's how we find our luck in life and we manifest the easiest. So if you have somebody who, if you're a child or you has Scorpio and Jupiter, but you are very earth heavy in other places or even air heavy in other places, you might not feel comfortable with your emotional power. You might actually shy away from your emotional power. So if you have a child, let's say, who has a lot of strong earth energy, it's important, especially in those beginning stages of development, to really nurture emotional power and let them feel that confidence in expressing their emotions. I love, I always suggest to, especially for anybody who might not be super connected to their, I mean, generally for everybody, because even if you're super connected to your emotions, that doesn't mean that you have a good grasp of expressing emotions with restraint or emotional regulation. So there are these amazing flashcards. I recommend them for every parent, and they go through all of the emotions you feel. There's a picture of a child and what that expression looks like. And then on the back, it explains the emotion and then things you can do when you're feeling that emotion. And it's not just negative emotions, it's every kind of emotion. And this is a great way, I think too, especially with earth signs, because they're so literal that it really can saturate into their brain how to navigate emotions, because it's more of a logical sense of approaching emotions. All right, Pisces, this energy will showcase the element of water by extending the deepest empathy and healing to everything that suffers. As a Pisces, I understand this wholeheartedly. And this is something where if you or your child has strong Pisces placements, it's really important to practice shedding energy off of you. I highly recommend bath time, obviously at night, wonderful for everybody. But when you're doing bath time with your child and they have a lot of Pisces energy, while you're rinsing them, say how we're cleansing the energy off. We're getting rid of all the energy of everybody from the day and making that part of your ritual so that they can incorporate that into their lives into the future as well. As a Pisces to an adult, if you're not a bath person, switching your shower routine to a nighttime shower routine. And this is really, anybody who has a career where you are bombarded with everybody else's energy, it's just good practice. Like if you're a server or customer service, it's just really good. Real estate is just really good practice to shed that energy off of you every day at night. But yeah, specifically with Pisces, it's really important to learn boundaries. So boundaries are something like why I love this information from the get-go, right when your child is brought into this life, is there are certain things. Obviously, your kid has to be well-rounded in development in general, and we'll discuss childhood development too on this channel, but emphasizing a little further certain things. So emphasizing a little more boundaries with Pisces and water energy, because you do feel everybody's emotions and you want to help, but that's not the best way to express that energy, is to try and save everybody. And so that's really important if you do have a lot of Pisces energy. Also, quick side note too, I know the movie Elemental just came out, and if you've seen it, please comment because I want to know how it is. I'm going to go see it with my daughter and I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. And I think after watching this video, going and seeing that movie is going to bring all of this information together, because it looks like from the trailer that they really connect the dynamics of elements working together in nature. So I'm so excited. All right, Earth energy. We have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Now, Earth is most connected to the physicality of life. Earth isn't aggressive, it's receptive. However, Earth energy can be passive. So this is where I like to describe how, as a water sign, you wear your heart on your sleeve, your emotions are everywhere. But Earth signs are receptive. So they're not necessarily the giving the energy as much as receiving the energy. You can imagine a tree with its roots in the ground. And this is where finding these dynamics and how they work together and not taking things personal. And I mean, as adults and children, we need to really learn that our energy is our energy and somebody else's energy is theirs. And these energies can coexist even if there's contrast. So Earth is the element of patience, stability, commitment, discipline, permanence, and strength. Earth is practical, but can sometimes lack imagination and only see what's physically in front of them. So people heavy in Earth signs, they're going to be more into the tangible, the sensory activities, science and logic. So if you're somebody who has a lot of water energy or air energy, you might want your child to participate in the activities that you loved as a child. But if they're strong in Earth energy, they might not gravitate towards that. But there's always dynamics to every part of this where even if, let's say, you were big into theater and you were the one on stage, or even, a fire energy like a Leo, and you really think your kid could benefit from being in theater, well, they might actually want to be one of the tech people doing the audio or doing the lights or things like that. So that's the way, incorporating your child in the best manner that benefits their energy and their nurturing, their development. And again, this is all just very basic information. Nothing is meant to put onto your child. You obviously build your intuition, see what works with your child, what doesn't work with your child, what your child gravitates towards and what they don't. Nothing is set in stone when it comes to astrology. I always like to compare it to the weather. Astrological alignments, they're like, it might rain today, but there's a 60% chance, so it may or may not. So this information is helpful, but just keep that in mind too. All right. Now, also, Earth represents manifestation in the physical world. So Earth signs provide the physical necessities of life and establish structures and systems to increase security and comfort. Pragmatism, endurance, ambition, and sensuality are typical Earth sign qualities. So if you or your child has an Earth sign in your Jupiter, really pay close attention to that, because manifestation is so much more powerful with Earth. And also too with, any placement, but specifically Jupiter, because that's where you find your luck in life. So with its negative expression, an unbalanced Earth can lead to materialism, greed, or overindulgence, stagnation, and fear. People lacking in Earth may have to work a bit harder at bringing their ideas into form and dealing with everyday tasks of life. So me, as somebody who, I'm pretty sure I only have one Earth placement of Taurus, Venus and Taurus, I can really identify with that last part. Because when you look at everybody else, and it's like, it seems to take so much longer to manifest things. And that's where working with the energies of your chart really make such a difference. Like, now that I'm looking at my Jupiter and I see that it's in Sagittarius, and I see that it's about sharing this information with people and utilizing that connection I have to the energy around us, the unseen that is actually felt, that's where I know my luck in life is. And so definitely nurture your child's Jupiter. I'm also going to have videos that break down each planet and the placements and explaining how to nurture at different stages of development. So we're going to get to that in the future. But when it comes to this, so everything has a different positive and negative. There's two sides to every coin. So if you do have a child with a heavy emphasis of Earth energy, it's important to really expose them to the kind of grounding energy that connects them to the collective unconscious. Having them do some volunteer work or working at a soup kitchen during Thanksgiving, things that make them connected to things outside of the material world if you happen to see these kind of negative expressions manifesting. All right, so earth sign by earth sign, we have Taurus. And Taurus will convey a deep connection to and appreciation of the physical senses and will often successfully take command of preserving physical security. So people with, like I had just mentioned, Venus is ruled by Taurus. So Taurus is very loving energy. And so that's an amazing connection to nature. And so if you do have a child who has strong Taurus placements, taking nature walks and making sure you put your toes in the sand in the summer and really gravitating towards that loving connection to the earth. Virgo, this energy will masterfully volunteer to be of service of others, displaying a humble, flexible demeanor while expertly executing any task they commit to. So this is awesome energy. However, as I mentioned with water signs, now let's say you have a lot of water heavy and Virgo, it's wonderful to volunteer to be service of others. However, if you don't have boundaries in place, you can overextend yourself. And so that's where understanding this energy and boundaries, obviously, again, important for everybody, but especially if you have strong placements in these energies that naturally will overgive, it's important to be mindful of that. Capricorn, this energy will climb the most unbearable mountain with perseverance, ambition, and determination in order to achieve any goal they set for themselves. So definitely super positive with ambition for your child. If they have a Capricorn placement in their Jupiter, like they're gonna manifest that energy. So if they're kind of lost in what they want to do in life and they have this energy in their Jupiter, they're really going to be determined to finish what they start. So yeah, great energy, especially too when you think of school related activities. All right. So Gemini, I'm sorry, air. So air is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Air is focused on inhaling mental energy. Air is invisible, it cannot be enclosed, and it is changeable. Air and water are very similar in their flow. However, air signs are known for not being so emotional. So they definitely, water and air go with the flow. However, too, that going with the flow, you can get lost in the river or lost in the air. And air signs are known for being more detached and cerebral than others, and freedom to move is important. So if you have a child who has very strong air qualities, you definitely want to get them in those activities where they can move their body because they're going to want to move their body. All right. And also air signs are typically intellectual, objective, curious, socially oriented, cooperative, and communicative. Air signs bring the gift of detachment and perspective, the ability to step back from a situation and see it from different points of view with neutrality. So this is something too, if you have a lot of air, you might take a second to respond to somebody when they tell you something, especially something that needs to have an objective response. And some people might take this negatively and think that you're judging them, but all you're doing is just taking the information in and trying to decipher the best response by seeing it from every angle. And so if you're a parent who has strong air energy and your child doesn't, it's important to be mindful of that when in expressing why you communicate the way you communicate. And vice, and too with relationships, if you're with somebody who has a lot of air energy and you take offense to the delayed response, you shouldn't, because it's just in their nature. Now, when negatively expressed, air signs can become cold and aloof, When air is lacking in a person's chart, they are challenged to develop a greater awareness of other people's perceptions and the ability to think logically. So this is what I was saying, to try and avoid or I don't want to necessarily say avoid, but if this type of energy, the negative aspect is expressed, making sure that your kids, like I said, with Earth connecting to service and making sure that you can see other people's perspectives, even debate would be great because you need to understand the other perspective to make a proper debate for what you're trying to get across. And definitely, making sure that your kid is in activities like karate. I think karate is an amazing one because karate teaches you the self-discipline, but also the respect of others. So that's a wonderful activity. All right, so let's get to Gemini. Gemini, this energy will manifest the element of air as an ability to instantly notice and communicate about everything in its environment. And sometimes that communication is they're noticing 5 different things in their environment and saying it all at once. So some people think it's scatterbrained, but in a Gemini head, it all makes sense. And I'm a Gemini moon and rising and North Node and something else. So I know this feeling very well. But this makes it great for a multitasker. So if you have a child with strong Gemini placement or you have strong Gemini placement, multitasking is really a superpower for you. And you're going to be able to get a lot done when you're doing 5 things at once. Now, Libra energy. This energy will apply the element of air as a drive to use its intellect in a way that promotes social harmony. So on a negative aspect, a Libra energy, somebody with strong Libra energy might have trouble dealing with the injustices in life. And if they, for instance, social media is probably not going to be the best thing for somebody with a lot of Libra energy because it's everywhere. And so since you're so driven to have that, it might be difficult to navigate when the focus on a lot of social media is promoting that negative social energy. So teaching your child, if they have a lot of Libra, that I think tapping is wonderful. Tapping is a great way to come back to the center of who you are and get back to the harmony and balance inside yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have to be centered before you can see anything else for what it is. And yeah, just learning to let it go. Frozen, great. Great movie for somebody with strong Libra energy. All right, let's get to fire. So fire's the passion. Fire, we have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Fire gives light and warmth, and without it, there's no chance at life. This energy is excitable, vital, and enthusiastic. This energy commands attention. The element of fire is responsible for courage, confidence, and initiative. Fire has no fear. Quite the contrary, fire is to be feared. Now, let's say you don't have a lot of, actually, this goes for any element. Let's say you're lacking an element, like I said, earth. I'm lacking earth. I have 1 earth placement. So people who are missing that element, getting into nature is really important. And as an introvert, I see how hard it is for me to actually do that. But, and you might not naturally want to get out into nature if you don't have a lot of earth energy. But when you do and you're grounded and you put your toes in the sand or put your toes in the grass and you sit there and you connect to that energy from the earth, you're getting that energy that's missing. So with fire, having that fiery, a sauna, like something that's hot, or a campfire in the summers and stuff like that. It's important to compensate for those things that might be lacking in yours or your child's chart. So if you notice that there's a element missing in your child's chart, try and find ways to incorporate that. Like I said, with water, making sure to stay hydrated, taking baths, go to the pool, and really connecting to that, going out to the lake and just sitting there, going for a walk at the lake. All of those things are great ways if you are lacking a certain energy in your life. Also with fire, fire represents the desire for life, the will to be and become. Fire signs often embody leadership, initiative, and courage. People with fiery emphasis tend to be impulsive, spontaneous, creative, and enthusiastic. Ideally, fire signs serve as inspiration for others, stimulating creative action based on high ideals. When negatively expressed, there can be an overemphasis on self-expression without consideration for other feelings. Fire can burn itself out when it lacks a practical outlet for its high voltage energy. If someone is lacking in fire, they may need to cultivate self-confidence, vitality, courage, and passion. So that's what I was saying of incorporating, if you are lacking in fire, incorporating that energy and activities that build your self-confidence and courage and passion right out the gate with early childhood development. Finding those things, like if your child is naturally good at something, really building up their confidence. And there's so many wonderful things that can build a child's self-confidence. And I'm an advocate for therapy at any age. I say there's not too young of an age. Play therapy is amazing. There are wonderful tools for any kid of any sign and any age. And also to early education classes in your area. They have wonderful lessons that they teach you on nurturing your child's development and boosting self-confidence. So there's a lot of, and we're going to get into that stuff too on this channel. So I don't want to get too much into it now and just focus on the air signs or on the fire signs right now. But just know that there's always something you can do to build anything that's lacking. Okay, so Aries, this energy, actually, before I start Aries, I do want to say, when it comes to fire, I think of a superhero movie. So there's the character that has fire as their superpower. And when they're not emotionally regulated, they don't know how to control the fire. The fire, goes and starts a wildfire or a house fire or something like that. And then once they go to their sensei or whatever and they connect to themselves and find their energy, they're able to control their fire. So that's the way to look at strong fire placements, is especially, with your child, you're able to help nurture them and ways that they can control their fire, especially with burnout too, because boundaries, knowing, when work is done, that kind of stuff, and not letting them get too, knowing the importance of routine. If anybody needs routine the most, it's probably fire and water, because they're going to need the most structure to navigate. And I guess, honestly, fire probably is because of the burnout aspect. And a lot of fire signs end up burning out because that passion the flame needs to stay here. It can't go up here and then down here constantly. So I just wanted to make that note before we get into this. All right. So Aries, this energy is concerned with the development of a strong ego self. This sign is action oriented and a born leader. And as a result, this sign will use fire nature in a way that promotes new experiences. Leo, this energy will focus on using the fire element of light and fire to sustain warmth and joy. Leo is fun, loving, and dramatic, using the flamboyant nature of fire in a way to promote personal theatrics and to gain respect and recognition. So, obviously getting a Leo into theater or music, anything that can let them be expressing themselves in that kind of nature. And then also too, like the balance of making sure self-love comes from within. So especially with a Leo, because of that natural wanting of recognition from others, we have to make sure that Leo energy is balanced in self-love first, and knowing that the love from within is most important, and then all that other energy just radiates. Now, Sagittarius, this energy is eternally seeking the truth in life. This sign will use its fire energy to bravely assert opinions and ideals and feed a never-ending supply of optimism and inspiration. And so Sagittarius, that energy really connected to that which can't be seen. I would like to note, though, too, the bravely asserting your opinion. So let's say you have somebody a child who has strong Sagittarius energy, but also strong air energy, they might not know to think before they speak necessarily. And so you should be confident in your opinions. However, at the same time, you don't want to instigate conflict when we don't need to, and seeing other people's perspectives. But Sagittarius energy, super great, fiery passion connected to some sort of spiritualism, is really, really awesome. Okay. Now, like I said, when you're getting those charts, I'm just giving mine as like an example here. So how I like to look at it is by writing it all down, just really basic like this. And then, like I said, write the element, either highlight it or put a letter next to it so that you can identify it. And then in my next video, I'm actually going to go through mine and my daughter's chart and explain the dynamics of these energies. So now that we do have the elements, the elementals of the elements done, next time I will go through this, and then maybe it'll clarify a little bit better of how in each placement these energies work together or work against each other. But even if they work against each other, there are ways to find the benefits in the contrast. So that is all the time that I have for this video. Again, go check out that, I swear it's not a paid advertisement, but go check out that movie Elemental that's in theaters now after watching this video, and see if you can find any connections between the astrological elements and that movie. I am beyond excited. I think it's going to be a game changer. And like I said, the connecting astrology into parenting is so beneficial because it allows us to give a new perspective, to see outside our own perspective. And the most important thing is nurturing our children at every stage. For more information on that too, I highly recommend the Montessori websites, the American Academy of Association of Montessori, I think it's called. I'll link it in the description. And also, again, early education classes, you're never too late to learn too. So never forget that. You're never too late to grow or change. And any suggestions on future videos, please just let me know, drop a comment. And also please like and share with anybody who you think might be interested in this information. And don't forget to subscribe to Modern Maven Tarot on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Have a great day, everybody.